Good morning. You are listening to Kootenay Morning, and we are back talking about wetlands and how to create them, and particularly the wetland stewardship partnership. We just spoke with Terry Halleran, who's experimenting with that on his property. And on the line from Vancouver, correct? We have Neil Fletcher, the wetlands program coordinator. Neil,
that's right.
How are you doing?
Yes, I'm doing very well.
You got to listen to our discussion with Terry this morning, and Terry was the one that suggested that I contacted you. So why don't you tell us who Neil Fletcher is?
Oh, sure, yeah. So I'm the wetlands coordinator of BC Wildlife Federation, which is the oldest and largest conservation organization in British Columbia. We have 40,000 members, largely made up of fish and game clubs around the province, as well as people that are direct members. And the wetlands program that I coordinate has been in existence for the last 20 years. We started with a lot of stewardship work when we first formed. So that was things. If you've ever heard of stream keepers, the BC Wildlife Federation has taken on wetland keepers, which is both a workshop and a way to get local groups to adopt and protect and conserve wetlands around the province. I guess the other hat I wear is I'm the chair of the Wetland Stewardship Partnership. So I heard on your last interview you were talking about the Wetlands Action Plan, and that's something that has been put together by a number of different agencies, BC Wildlife Federation, Ducks Unlimited, Ministry of Environment, a number of different provincial players towards conserving and protecting wetlands.
And why wetlands, Neil?
So wetlands are ecologically rich. They're one of the most diverse and important ecosystems that we have in the province. But unfortunately, they've been maligned over since European settlement, basically, where they exist in our low-lying valleys, these nice flat areas that unfortunately are where we also like to live. Mm-hmm. So over time, at least in the lower half of our province, we've seen a lot of wetland loss, really high proportions in various areas due to either agricultural activities or residential growth, or in some cases dam impacts, for a variety of reasons. So although these habitats provide a significant amount of habitat for species, including about 1/3 of species at risk in BC, they only take up about 4% of the landscape. So they're really important areas to protect.
I think the thing that struck me when Terry sent out his notice about the second year anniversary of his project was something that I hadn't thought about, and that's that we can be private stewards for this land. Like, you can actually create this. Like, it doesn't have to be something that the government protects that's already there. It's actually something that you can renew.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that Terry did an excellent job explaining that, and it's really nice to hear it come from his point of view. We really encourage private landowners to consider their land as something that, obviously they need to make a living off of it in some cases, or, they need to live on that land. But to save some space for nature is sort of what we advocate where possible. And even small wetlands can be really important to some species, like amphibians, a lot of songbirds. They don't need a lot of water, they just need a bit. And so almost any landowner who has a bit of space can attract wildlife to their land.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, do you think it's is it a struggle to convince people to do this?
Well, in some cases, in Terry's case, there's a win-win. Basically, he had wetted agricultural land that his father and grandfather had tried to farm for many years, but it was just really too wet. And so what we're doing is we're creating depressions, and with that extra soil, we're creating these mounds that he'll be able to use now to hay. So he's actually benefiting from adding these wetlands in. In other cases, landowners are looking to build wetlands because they want to see more wildlife where in their backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, that's not the position of everybody, and people like Terry, we like to promote as those that are thinking ecologically minded, we need to be able to provide assistance to those types of people that are willing to do this type of work.
So people like Terry help to change the perception, because it's not I think a commonly known perception, right, about wetlands.
Yeah, we like to promote people like Terry because he has a different perception than some landowners, and he could act as a case study of somebody who's gone through this experience. And we've already talked to other landowners who've been interested, and we've asked Terry if he can share his experience with them as far as what the steps were working with us, as well as the process that's involved in getting the work done.
And if people are interested in getting that information about the process, how do they go about doing that?
Well, they can. One way they can do that is they can contact me. I can leave you with my phone number. It's 1-888-881-2293, extension 232. Also, we have a website, so all of my contact information would be on that. So that's at BC Wildlife Federation, if you Google it, or bcwf.bc.ca.
And is there is there funding to help people do this?
Yes. So most of the funding is actually through grants that we've been able to do this. And for Terry's site, there were 4 major partners. One was the National Wetland Conservation Fund of the Government of Canada. That one's the one that Terry mentioned. Mm-hmm. Also, the Fish and Wildlife Compensation Program. They have a Columbia stream, which have also really supported private landowner wetland restoration activities. And then 2 other funders are the Columbia Basin Trust and Wildlife Habitat Canada. So, yeah, I mean, I think with funders, though, it's sort of it's a new thing for funders. A lot of them really want to fund things on public land,
right,
and they have a bit of a problem doing things on private land. So I personally feel like with wetlands in particular, because they're in these low-lying areas, that a lot of private land, where there is a lot of private land, it's one of our best options is to start funding these types of partnerships.
And
so
I consider them progressive funders that are going down that route.
Right. Yeah. Because it wouldn't. It makes more. It doesn't make more sense, but for funders, it would make more sense usually to fund something that's not on somebody's private land, because they could change it at any time, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So one thing that with Terry and a few other landowners that we've been working on is a stewardship agreement that is in between just a simple voluntary agreement and a more restricted covenant. We're trying to find a solution that provides a bit more certainty to those wetlands that are on private land, but also giving the landowner, less restrictions on their property. So trying to find a sweet middle spot, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
How many projects are private stewardship projects are happening in BC right now?
I wouldn't have that number. I mean, we're not the only organization that does it. Obviously, Ducks Unlimited is a major player in wetland restoration and partnerships with landowners. And then there's a number of other groups that do work. However, ourselves, we've been involved in 3 in the Kootenay area, 1 in Passmore, and then 1 in Selmo as well.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Well, thanks so much, Neil. Can you give us your number again in case people want to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. It's 1-888-881-2293, extension 232.
And that is Neil Fletcher, the Wetlands Program Coordinator. Thanks for
all the way from Vancouver.
Vancouver.
And
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, no problem. All right. Take care, Neil.
Thank you.